Alec Peirce, Vintage Scuba, back again with some more interesting stuff you to look at from the old days of diving. Yeah, when diving was, what's my expression? When diving was safe and sex was dangerous. Is that the way it works?
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, that's not true though. They were both dangerous back then. Anyway, I thought I would take a minute today and talk to you about backpacks. Now you don't even know what a backpack. Modern divers don't even know what they don't have backpacks. They have BCDs, as you probably know, because most vintage divers are also modern divers. They have a BCD. Now, they may not realize that inside the BCD there's a type of backpack. Some really do have a hard plastic, old-fashioned backpack with a band on it. Some do, some don't. But those aren't really backpacks. When I talk about backpacks, particularly in a vintage scuba context, I mean a backpack. Something went onto the tank to hold the tank onto your body. We didn't have BCDs, as you know. So we had to have some way of holding the tank onto our bodies. Now originally, the very first scuba tanks going back to the mid-40s and up until about maybe the mid-50s, for quite a while, there was no backpack, there was nothing. We actually literally tied our tanks onto our back with some webbing straps. So we had some webbing, just webbing, and you know, strips 1 inch wide, and we wrapped them around the tank and tied them tight at the top, and we stitched on shoulder pieces and a waist piece and a crotch piece usually, and so it was like a little net, if you like. I've got a picture here to show you of what the very first backpacks, if you like, look like. They're actually not it's a harness. What it was called was a harness. Harness for the tank, not a harness for the horse, for the tank. And he used that to fasten on. But then they started to develop into something a little more convenient, a little more stable, a little stronger. And so right after the harness, the very next thing to come out was a harness, but the harness was held onto the tank by metal bands. So I don't really know what the name of this. My good friend Alan down in Rochester would know what this is called, because he actually still makes these today for vintage divers. But a very early style of backpack, I'm going to call it a backpack, would look like this. 2 metal bands. You see the metal bands? And the metal bands have bolts and screws in them. So you mount this metal band near the top of the tank, below the round portion, tighten it up. And this metal band would mount probably 2/3 of the way down the tank and also tighten on. So here's your 2 metal bands. Now, what we did then is there were 2 slots cut in the metal. I think you can see the slots there for the webbing to go through. And this webbing, this harness webbing, is actually very similar to what the harness that was used on tanks prior to the use of metal bands. Very similar anyway. So these are the shoulder straps. Now you know that these are the shoulder straps because these are wide. See this one over your shoulders like this. So these shoulder straps were fairly wide. That reduced the load on your shoulders, made it a little bit more comfortable. This went on like so, you see? And the shoulder straps went down and over your shoulders. Now, let me take this off of here for just a minute. And then the lower band was down below. Now, it was kind of neat how the lower band fastened on, because the lower band had 3 straps attached to it. 3 straps. I'm going to pretend this is on a tank. Let's pretend this is behind my back here. Can I do this, Kevin? How can I do this? I got to put this on differently to show it. Anyway, let me see if I can do that. If I put this on like that, and can I do this? Just hang on a second, folks. Let me get this organized here. Okay, all right. I got this thing mounted. So I have the shoulder straps on, like I showed you before. And you see the top band is on the top of the tank, and the bottom band is way down here at the bottom of the tank. So how did this harness work? Well, a strap came over each shoulder. That's easy to see. And you adjusted those. You pulled the tank up and down with these straps right here. These go down to the bottom band. They were pretty easy. You just pulled it tighter or made it looser and pulled it through like that. Okay? But these also almost invariably had a chest strap. If you watched any sea hunt episodes, you see Mike Nelson putting on his chest strap. And Mike Nelson in particular, if you watch it, is always good because he does it slowly and you can see it really well. He gets the chest strap snug like this, and then if you watch him, he does one more thing. He takes this end back and sticks it back through there like that. Some people say, well, why does he do that? Well, it's simple. That makes a quick release, you see. If he pulls on the loose end, it pops apart, but it won't pop apart unless he does that. So anyway, the point is that the chest strap goes across like this and fastens through that loop. I won't bother putting that quick release in it. Now here's where it gets interesting, because it has to be fastened around your waist. So there's a waistband on the bottom too, and the waistband is exactly the same as the chest strap. But before you do that, you got to reach down between your legs And you got the crotch strap, and there's a crotch strap at the bottom. Crotch strap comes up, the waistband goes through the crotch strap, and then this goes in through there, and that goes like that. This was what every scuba diver had to do before he jumped in the water. So you can see that putting on the tank was a bit of a process. Yeah, plus you had that crotch strap down there. So you had to be just a mite careful with these. And we don't use crotch straps anymore. Oh, occasionally, depending on your tank setup, you might do that. But there you go, I almost have to go diving. All I need is a tank of air. But this was, for all intents and purposes, the very earliest type of backpack. It wasn't really a backpack, it was sort of. And it really just amounted to a couple of straps, you see, and a couple of rings and bands like that. Okay, so what happened then? Well, as I've already sort of demonstrated just by my fumbling around here, this wasn't really the most convenient, not really the easiest system to go. So the next step was an attempt to make it easier and more comfortable too. Let me show you. What the heck is this? Well, this is, I think we can honestly call this a backpack. Okay, because this is actually a device that fastened to the tank that allowed you to put it on your back and held the tank. This is a backpack. So they used the same idea, you see, as of a metal ring to clamp the tank. This undid with thumb screws. You put your tank in there and tighten it up. So your tank sat inside of this. But welded to that was this interesting orange metal contraption. You see that? This came up to the back of your neck, and these actually curved around your waist. Look at how it curves around your waist so far. They curve around your waist for a simple reason. On the inside, let me go to the inside. On the inside, get these out of the way. You can see that across, bridging across there, there's a band. See it there? Well, that's what sits on your back, and that's quite comfortable. Yeah, you're not, the band, the tank isn't there. The metal band isn't digging into your back. This nice, comfortable metal strap. It's almost like a modern hiking backpack that you might see hikers using. Sits on, very comfortable, very easy. And then, of course, there's a waistband that goes around your tummy and goes into a quick release buckle in front. There's only one band. So you can see this is, first of all, a lot more solid. It's made of solid metal. A lot more stable. Holds the tank very, very firmly. More comfortable too. That's got a band on across the back rather than something digging into your back all the time. And a nice wide belt across the front. And only one belt. So unlike the first one I showed you there, it took me several minutes just to sort the straps out. This is easy. One arm, you need shoulder, waist strap, snap it together, let's go diving. So this was a big, big step forward. However, it was still, you know, a little bit difficult, a lot of welding, a lot of material, fairly heavy as well. So it wasn't the ultimate backpack yet. Let's take a look and see what happened next, because the next step was an important step. And the next pack, the last one I'm going to show you in this little episode, the next one lasted for many, many, many years. This design was around, maybe from the early 60s to the late 60s, and it pretty much disappeared. Let's take a look at one more. Does this look familiar at all? If you've been vintage diving at all, you'll know this. But even if you have not been vintage diving, you might recognize this, because a lot of modern buoyancy compensators, even today, have a pack, a design of something inside the BC. You may have to go looking for it, but it's in there. A lot of BCs don't have any pack built in, but a lot of them still do. So this is the next step. And with minor variations, this particular design lasted for many, many years. Oh gosh, from the 70s until 2000, a very, very long time. This early one is made of metal. It's a metal sheet, and you see it's formed a little bit, shaped a little bit. And it was kind of nice because it had little wings on it that came around and sat on your back, on that padded portion back there. You know that padded portion I'm talking about, Kevin. Yeah. And so it was comfortable to wear. The tank clamped into this big band on the back. Now this particular design was really neat. This wasn't the first one. The first one had screws and you screwed it on tight. This particular one was kind of neat. This is called a Cam-Easy. Cam, C-A-M-E-Z. Or in Canada we say Cam-E-Z, which is really dumb. Cam-Easy is correct, I think. Anyway, maybe I'm not a pure Canadian. Anyway, you put this over the tank, snap it down, and then you snap it into place, and the tank was in there firmly. So it was very easy to remove this from your tank when you took it for air fills or stacked it in the car, whatever you wanted to do. But how did the straps work? Well, they were very simple too. There's one strap that came from the top down to the side, another strap came from the top down to the other side, and there's one strap going around your tummy. And now we're away from those buckles and the loops and everything else. Now we have quick release buckles. So just like that. You can pull the buckle and it drops the tank. But when the belt is in there and snapped down firmly, like that, it's going nowhere. Another small feature, just let me point it out, getting it off and on. You know, so there's another quick release over here. What the heck is that for? Well, that actually makes it a little more convenient for getting it off and on, because it's the same old problem still existed, getting this tank on and off your back. Don't forget the tank weighed about 30 pounds. So to get this on and off, particularly on your own, was sometimes a little difficult. Well, if you had that extra band up there, you see, that goes over your shoulders, this goes around your tummy. I'm just going to do it up here quickly if I can get enough belt space on here. On it goes like that, and it's held firmly around your tummy. Well, that's great. Off you go diving. That was fantastic. Now, at the end of the dive, you want to get this darn thing off. You could quickly and easily, with the quick release buckle, break the waist belt, and the waist belt fell apart. But now to get this off, and you got your wetsuit on, and you're cold. What a nuisance. You don't need to. Just find this snap. Oh, it's up here. There it is on the shoulder. Find that. You see, watch now. Pull that. Hard. And that comes apart. The tank won't fall off. It's still on your back, you know. And then you can reach back like this, grab the tank, bring it around beside you, and sit it down on the ground. So that little extra quick release on the left-hand shoulder, almost always on the left-hand shoulder, made it convenient as well. So there you go, guys. Backpacks. 1, 2, 3. From the old webbing held on maybe with a couple of steel bands to all kinds of weird designs. Hawaiian packs, I showed you Hawaiian pack a while ago, to this particular design. I don't know, I have no idea who made that. There were a lot of homemade packs. Yep, I made a wooden homemade pack. Worked really well for a few weeks. And then it fell apart. Well, it wasn't uncommon. To this much more modern style, which is unchanged, largely unchanged even today. Anyway, there you go. Backpacks. Vintage backpacks. Hope there was something of interest in there for you. Alec, Peirce, Vintage Scuba. Talk to you again soon.